Today, we are talking with our guest and my longtime friend, Kristen Gangl. Kristen is a stage 4 cancer survivor and is here to share her miracle story. But first, a little about Kristen. Kristen developed a passion for teaching at an early age, which continued throughout her life. Her career spans a variety of roles, teaching English as a second language, being a general manager of a gym, a fitness instructor, and a personal trainer. She's been active leading worship in church Sunday school and VBS. Kristen is a wife, mom of 2 grown sons, and lives in Colorado with her husband and 2 dogs. She frequently skis and hikes in the mountains and teaches Zumba, yoga, and Pilates. Welcome to the podcast, Kristen.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you too.
We are so excited to have you today. I tell you what, people, if you don't know this woman, I do. And I'll tell you, she is a joy bringer with endless energy. I've taken a Zumba class, so I have a firsthand experience.
And I don't know you very well, but from what I can see today, you have the biggest smile, Kristen. No one can see that, but you have it. It's been from ear to ear.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm super happy to be here. Yeah. And just love being able to share this story and so thankful for what God has done.
Oh, that's so great. And we're going to just jump in. So
Yeah.
I just want to say we are so honored to have you here today. And your story begins in the spring of 2023, where you had a mammogram, which found something.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. I had kind of had a stressful time before that mammogram. My elderly father was needing a whole bunch of care and support, and he was quite a ways away from me. I was living in Colorado Springs and he was in Arizona, and so I was driving back and forth and just caring for him and hadn't realized I thought I was early for my mammogram, but I was late. And so and I knew something was wrong. A little spot that I had had a biopsy on probably a decade prior was just a little irritated, and I just kept thinking, oh, that's just scar tissue. You know, it's always a little bit weird. And but anyway, I told my primary care physician and said, you know, I probably need to get a mammogram in here pretty soon. And they did the mammogram, and they were concerned, and then they have to jump through all these hoops. So it was then, you know, the ultrasound, and they just, I could tell they saw something. You know, they got extra empathetic and caring through that procedure. And but I just really didn't have a lot of fear at that time. And they did a biopsy as well. And I remember getting the news, and they just reassured me it's very small. It's, you know, going to be a minor surgery. It's not going to be, you know, anything that's too big of a deal. And I felt very confident. I'm like, oh, little surgery. I'm strong. I'm healthy. I'm young. This is going to be no problem at all. You know, I'll breeze through this. I just have a lot of confidence in my strength and health, you know, so active and strong. And so I just really wasn't overly concerned. So God had to take it to another level to get my attention.
Right, which he often does.
Yeah.
I want to ask, what was the name of that type of cancer?
Invasive ductal carcinoma. At that level right then. Yeah. So at that time, that's as far as I knew it had gone.
So, and just to point out to everybody that's listening, that typically is a cancer that is not aggressive, correct?
Yeah. It's the most common kind of cancer. It's estrogen positive cancer, and it's the most common kind of breast cancer. And not anything super aggressive. I also had a genetic test done to make sure I didn't have some kind of genetic form of breast cancer, and that came back very clear. I was adopted, so I didn't have any history of breast cancer that they could look back on. So, yeah, so it wasn't a huge worry at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, if I remember right, you had some back issues?
Yeah, I'd been having some trouble with my back, and I kept going to the chiropractor and saying, I have this weird rib out of place. It's giving me trouble. So I kept going to the chiropractor, and it really wasn't helping a lot. And and I was teaching all my classes. I taught like 10 classes a week, Pilates and Zumbas. And I was really struggling one week. And finally it kind of came to a head where I think I even had a fever. It was getting really bad. And my husband rushed me to the ER one morning, and I was kind of reluctant to. I'm like, no, I don't go to the ER. No,
Yeah, right.
I just don't. But I went, and the doctor, the ER doctor. Oh, and I was having a lot of pain also in my side. I don't know what that was about exactly, but so they did a CAT scan, and he came back saying, yeah, your cancer is all through your spine, through your rib cage.
Oh my gosh.
And he did preface that, I'm not an oncologist, but if, a lot of people in this situation, they just deny treatment and go travel the world. I think he told me about 4 or 5 times, go travel the world. So,
Oh my goodness.
yeah.
What was the time frame from when they told you had cancer and this ER visit?
I'd say it was probably a couple weeks, 2 weeks, I think. Yeah, because this is kind of funny too. When I first got the diagnosis of the breast cancer, we had a trip to France planned, like a bucket list trip to France. And so I went off to France. They said, yeah, you have time. Don't worry about it. And we were, walking 12 miles a day. And, and I kept thinking, oh, I'm having trouble keeping up with my husband and my sister-in-law. And I was having a lot of pain, like on the airplane, just sitting was very hard. So on the way back, I really struggled. So, I just thought it was me, and I didn't really think it was anything serious. But yeah, so it was, I think, a couple of weeks. We had that trip, and then I had, as soon as I got back, I had a week of classes, and I think I got the news. I didn't get a call. They have a portal, and so I was able to see and read all of the information and knew, oh gosh, this doesn't sound good. Invasive ductal carcinoma. Those words don't sound very good, and I think that means I have breast cancer. Yeah.
So when you learned that it had spread, what was going through your mind?
That was when I lost my confidence for sure. I thought a little surgery, losing my breasts. If I had to go to that route, I don't know why, but I just thought, I can handle that. I'm not attached to these things. No big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thought of, stage 4 is so serious. That's, most people don't come back from that. So that was a huge shocker. I was probably in shock for quite a while with that information. So I think I was kind of questioning God, what I thought, a quick surgery, this will give God a lot of glory, I'll just be healed. But what is this journey going to be about? Why is this happening to me? Gosh, what is going to happen? How long do I have? I didn't think I had very long. So just a lot of questions like, why would this happen to me? I'm young and healthy. I don't fit the profile of someone that gets breast cancer. I'm just really was so many questions to try to figure out.
At that point, did he answer in any way, any signs or any messages, or, when you were going through that had to have been very, like you said, very difficult, because it's all like, this isn't supposed to happen to me. I mean, you've been physically fit, for your whole life. Was your faith shaken?
I don't think it was at that point. I kind of looked back and thought, I have been through things in my life before where God has shown up, and I just want to hold fast to that this is something he will get me through. And maybe this is the end also. And so I picked up the book, Imagine Heaven, just for comfort. And I reread that, and, I thought, if this is my next journey, I want to just start to embrace it. So reading that book comforted me a lot. So I think, that's where I was with that, was as far as, and hearing from God. I don't know that I heard any specific message. I just took it in believing, he's got a plan for this. And I believe he will heal me because I feel like I should still be here. I think I got more to do.
I love it.
But I don't know for sure what his plan is. But whatever it is, it's good. It's going to be good. So.
So what happened after going to the ER? Did you meet with an oncologist?
Yes, so it goes really, really fast. So immediately after the ER visit, which was on a Sunday, I had an appointment the next day already planned to meet with my oncologist, my surgeon it was going to be. And I walked in and I could tell things weren't right because she, I think, just got the news right before my appointment and kind of came in and said, I'm not your doctor anymore. You are at stage 4 and you are moving on to a different doctor. And I moved on to a new doctor, a very young doctor. And
Hey, wait a minute.
oh yeah,
You had shared a name for that.
I do have a name for her.
Why you share that?
Yeah. Okay. So yes, a young doctor, very nice doctor, but also inexperienced, I think. She's pretty new. And I did call her Dr. Doomsday because she spoke words of doom over me, really, just saying, yeah, this is stage 4 and this is the plan. These are the drugs you'll be taking. And I said, well, what if I don't follow that route? I'm so into natural health and foods, and I just really don't like taking any medications when I can help it. And so she said, yeah, if you don't take it, you will not be here in a year. And if you do take it, well, I've had a few patients the last 5 years. And
Oh my gosh.
so that was really quite a shock. So yeah, I didn't have a lot of hope with that. And so I felt pretty, well, like I didn't have a lot of time and I didn't have a lot of hope for lasting very long. I did reach out to a couple of my girlfriends, my sister-in-law, Kathy, who had been through breast cancer. She was sending me books, and a girlfriend, Julie, who's a Zumba girlfriend of mine, and she had been through breast cancer. And so I reached out to them, and they both were like, no, you're going to be fine. And my sister-in-law, Kathy, knew so much about it. She's very, very educated on it and spends a lot of time doing research. And she said, I know people with stage 4 cancer that have lasted a decade at least. So I'm like, oh, okay. Goodness. And I did read the statistics. I think I had read that 30% of women can last beyond 5 years. So I thought, I'm going to put myself in that camp. I'm going to last longer than that. So
yeah, it sounds like definitely a mindset at that point.
Yeah. So it's helpful to have that hope. Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you do next?
Well, it was kind of a hard decision, but I decided to do the conventional treatments. So that included taking Verzenio, which is a chemo pill. So I took that, and I also did the radiation, 10 rounds of radiation to my spine and rib cage. It's kind of funny. Once it's gone outside of the breast into the body, they don't really care about the breast anymore. It's loose in the body. That's what they focus on. So it was all about my bones at this point. Also, one of my vertebrae was collapsed, which was really weird because I could feel the ribs on top of each other. And so I went in and had a surgery where they took this tube, put it into my vertebrae, and pumped me with literally cement. There's not even a medical term for that. Just I read through it, it's like, oh, cement. I'm sure it's a special kind, but that's what they called it. Yeah, so that was wonderful because immediately I was a little taller and I could feel that my ribs were not on top of each other anymore. So I did that surgery. I take an estrogen blocker, which I still do. And so that was the conventional treatments that I was on. Then I really sought out what else I could do. I knew there was a part I could do, even though the medical community says, no, you just do this. You don't have to do anything else. You don't need to change your diet. You just, do this and relax and do your normal life and eat healthy. It's kind of all the rest they'd say. So, but being kind of a health fanatic that I am, I'm like, oh, I know there's more I can do. So I got a lot of books, and that's when I found ChrisBeatCancer. He wrote this book when he was 26, about 20 years ago, and he holistically healed himself of stage 3 colon cancer. And since then, he dedicated his life to being a patient advocate and researching out all the different holistic treatments that there are out there. And So I just jumped on board with him, made him part of my program, and he gave me so many things to do. Ooh, so many. So one of those was juicing. His program is 90 days of juicing, and it's a mound of vegetables. It's like 5 pounds of carrots, a beet, celery, a green apple, raw ginger, raw lemon, raw garlic,
Wow.
all juiced down. It was really awful. I had to force myself to drink
Oh
it.
my gosh.
It was disgusting. And it was like 40 ounces a day I was supposed to drink,
Wow.
which I don't know that I was ever to. I think one day I was able to down it all, but I literally couldn't drink all of that juice. It was just so much. And then he has you eat a giant salad every day, which just loaded with good things, which was totally fine for me. And I did that as best I could, and then followed him for other things too. Like he talks about working on your spirituality and prayer and getting rid of unforgiveness. That's a big piece, letting go of things. Exercise was really huge. And this is where I was excited to get back to, doing as much Zumba as possible, because he really promotes what's called rebounding, which is where you bounce on a little tiny trampoline. And the reason for that is that it moves the lymph system, which is a detoxification system in your body built in.
Huh.
And sweating, I learned, is the number one way to detoxify your body. Not exercise is the number one way too. So you could do a sauna, which is good, but exercise is a little bit better kind of way to detoxify through sweating. Yeah, so I tried to do that. And let's see, what else? Sauna, heat treatments. Oh, he also talked about coffee enemas. This is where it gets to be a little too much information. Sorry. But,
Wow.
yeah, that's another detoxification method. I did seek out some other things that I didn't keep up. Like I got an infusion of vitamin C, but I didn't keep that one up. So, because I also found an integrative oncologist, became part of my team. And she helps me with those alternative things, supplements. So I take a good handful of supplements every day. And she kind of helped me steer into some things I should be doing. And the vitamin C infusion was not one of them. So so I take a ton of supplements every day. I take a lot of vitamin D. I take, what is it? 10,000 IUs of vitamin D a day. That's a lot. And omega-3s and calcium, curcumin, selenese. I had some other things I took that she checks my blood levels periodically, and we tweak things. So,
wow. And I want to mention too, you mentioned a chamber when we were in a conversation the other day. Tell us about that.
Well, oxygen survives best in an anaerobic environment. And so I want to get as much oxygen in my body as possible. So yoga, breathing, all that good breathing is really good. And also this hyperbaric chamber, you're in, this container, and oxygen is just being pumped in. You're just getting as much oxygen to your cells as possible. So I did do that once, but I have not kept that up. So, because you can get really expensive if you do all these treatments. Oh, I also did a cryotherapy where I went into a chamber and it was, I think, 200 degrees below zero.
Oh my goodness.
That's not really a cancer treatment, so I didn't continue with that one.
Oh.
Because I thought, I'm going to be in Minnesota some, and skiing out in Colorado. I skied in 22 below zero wind chills.
Wow.
Not too long ago. And that's as good as a hyperbaric chamber.
Right.
I mean, not hyperbaric, the cryotherapy, the cold one.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I want to take you back to the surgery you said you had with your back, because it really intrigues me that they pumped in that cement. And I'm just wondering, how was your body after the surgery, and how long did it take for you to actually start walking again?
Instantly. Yeah. It was, I went in, had the surgery. Yeah. I was immediately taller. That was really a wonderful result. Yeah.
Meaning you weren't hunching over?
Nope. Yeah.
Okay.
It was great. Yeah. And it was just one vertebrae, but yeah, it made a world of difference. So it really helped with a lot of the pain. But I did have, my ribs had fractured Who knows why? I don't know if it was just that they were so weak, or maybe, I was doing a lot of chiropractic care, so they might have fractured then.
Sure. Well, yeah, and I think some of the treatment I've read, chemo and radiation can cause fractures as well.
Yeah. The radiation was really hard on my body. It fatigued me so much that I couldn't walk around the block at the tail end of that. Also, it burned my esophagus, I think my heart and lungs. So I could feel that, climbing up the stairs. I'm like, oh, my heart is a little painful. Breathing was a little painful. And I could barely eat because of the esophagus. It was sort of a stabbing pain every time I swallowed.
Oh my goodness.
So they would have me drink a little bit of something that numbed my throat to try to eat. But I don't know, for a good week or two, that was not so fun.
Yeah. And I want to ask also, did you have some favorite scripture that you went to during this chapter of your life? How did you lean into your faith?
Oh, just a super simple verse that I would say every day, and I still say it every day, is Psalm 118, verse 24. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Yeah. So
wonderful.
Every day, there's some dark days that were really tough to get through and painful, but there's joy in every day, and I just need to look for it and be thankful for that day, because none of us knows if we have another one. This might be it. And
so true.
So that was probably my favorite verse. Another one I'd say was Romans 8:28. God works all things for the good of those who love him according to his purpose. And just in my heart, I just knew there was a reason to be going through this. There is a lesson somewhere, and I got to be looking for it.
So do you know, is the lesson big? Has it stood out to you?
Yes, big time. And I keep getting reaffirmed about this lesson. I think in my personality, I was very strong and independent, and I was very good at helping people, not so good at letting people help me, right? And not receiving. I never even received gifts well. If people would give me a gift, I'm like, I don't, it's hard for me to just receive it and just say thank you. And I just feel like I don't need it. I don't need help. I don't need anything. And boy, yeah, this was a humbling experience, and I needed to learn to receive.
So you talked about your team. I love the team analogy. You are not islands. We really need people to come alongside of us and to help us through life. So what did your support system look like during this time and maybe after?
Well, I'd say, of course, I had always an oncologist as part of my team. And that's where I need to get the conventional care from, and the blood work and scans. And then I'd say the other team member would be the Wark program. Oh, in which I forgot to mention too, a big piece of that was my diet. After that, I've been totally vegan. So yeah, Wark and following his vegan diet. And then as well, I would have my integrative oncologist to check my blood work and the supplements. And another piece she has me doing is mistletoe. So I give myself injections of mistletoe, which is very interesting. And then outside of that is the supportive community. So my husband, number one, he stepped up in a big way. He just is with me every step of the way with this, wanting to be alongside me, praying for me, just being such a hero for me. It's been amazing. And then my, immediate family, I've had so many people come and call and visit and shower me with gifts and cards, and oh my goodness, talk about the lesson I need to work on receiving. It's like constant. And then my church family, they called an emergency meeting and had all the pastors, all the staff, anybody they could get came to my house and prayed over me in the beginning. And they've been alongside me all the way as well. And my gym friends from Minnesota, sent me a month's worth of chef-prepared meals. I just stocked my freezer like crazy, but it was so nice and just sent a lot of love. And my gym family in Colorado Springs, they were just, they witnessed it. I could not keep this secret because I was teaching one week and then disappeared. And so they all knew what had happened. And when I came back, they threw a giant party for me called the Party in Pink. They had 10 instructors lead a 2-hour class and dance party. There were like 100 people. They raised $1,500 for me. And
oh my goodness.
And I was able to attend. It was one of my hardest days. I was really sick that day and I didn't know if I would make it. And I walked into the room. It's just decorated in pink. And I thought, well, I'll just sit and watch the party. And then I think the energy and the love and the prayer, they were so many Christians in that group. It was empowering me like crazy. By the end of the class, I led one of the songs up on stage and danced through almost the whole thing. So, and that was just a catalyst. Once that party happened, I was just on a health journey. It made a huge difference. It was amazing. Yeah.
That is joy encapsulated in what you just described.
Yeah, it was funny too. And then I started to attend classes afterwards. So the very first class I walk in was a yoga class, which was so hard to do. It was like a cardio workout for me, just to do yoga, just do this easy yoga class. That's how far I had gone backwards. It was my first step. But when I would walk into the room, the studio room, and the class is there and the instructor would see me, everybody stood up and would applaud that I was there. It was a lot of attention. And they kept that up for like weeks. Every single class I would go in, they would all stand up and clap, which was sort of embarrassing, but also lovely, and I would receive so many hugs and people would just afterwards pray over me in the class at the gym. It was amazing. So yeah, I had quite a team surrounding me, a lot of friends, a lot of love, and a lot of opportunity to have God show me people loved me. I've never felt more loved and supported in my life. And I had to receive that. And that was my lesson.
Receiving, I struggle with that too, because I'm one of those that I'm pretty independent myself and I don't need help all the time, and I can do it myself. And so I can relate to that.
Yeah.
And I also did Zumba for about 10 years.
Wow,
I
awesome.
loved Zumba.
It's so fun. It's
okay.
so fun.
I hope we can do that together sometime.
That would be great. Yes, I would love that too. Well, I want to talk about where you're at today.
Well,
your last scan that you had?
My last scan, which was in January. So this is about 2 years since the beginning. My last scan is clear of active cancer. So there are no active tumors anymore, which is a miracle. I mean,
praise the Lord.
The first, or I should say my second scan after my initial diagnosis, I was really disappointed because it showed no progression. It was still there, but it wasn't going forward. And Dr. Doomsday said, that's the best you can hope for, is that it won't go anywhere. You won't be cured. There's no cure for stage 4 cancer. And so I was very disappointed. But now, I mean, and it's gone, it's clear. It doesn't mean that I stop my treatment. It doesn't mean I go start eating steaks and donuts. But I do think it's a miracle that it is clear. And my oncologist currently said not total remission, but it's close. And I think I need a little bit more time before they'll say I'm in remission. So my husband and I pray, I am cured. I will be cured. Even though doctors don't say that, but
they don't like to admit them. They're like, did you go to Dr. Doomsday and say, hey, guess what? I'm still here.
Yeah, miracle.
Everybody asks me that, and I have not done that.
Don't you kind of want to send her a note?
Yeah. Well, I will be going back into that system, the UC Health system. in Colorado, but my integrative oncologist found me a new primary oncologist who she works with, because a lot of oncologists won't work with her. Like, she wants blood work done and they won't do it for her. And so I have a new one coming in. So I'll be in the system and she'll be able to see me if she wanted to. I don't know that I'll go seek her out though.
Oh man, that
Yeah.
is such a that I feel like that's maybe there's someone out there that just needs that hope today. Maybe they've received a diagnosis that's kind of feels like it's the end, and it's like, no, God has a plan. God knows he counts every hair on our head. He cares for us.
Yes.
And I'm just really glad you're sharing your story today, because I think there's at least one person that needs to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I heard a lot of people's stories that encouraged me. And that's one thing that the Chris Wark program has. Like, he has a podcast where he has people share stories of survival and what they did. And there are so many things out there that can be done, even without conventional medicine. Like, I'm so thankful I had healthcare that covered that, because the chemo pill I took was $14,000 or $16,000 a month. Of course, I have good insurance still, though. I mean, just the copays and it's expensive. And I think about people that can't afford that. But hey, there are people that survive doing a lot of natural things, eating vegan diets, taking supplements, doing exercise, just changing their lifestyle. A lot of people can heal holistically. So,
and that's so encouraging.
that's so cool. Yeah. And hearing other people's stories gives you hope, and you need hope. Another book that I read that was super, super helpful was a book, I think her name is Kelly Turner, Dr. Kelly Turner, Radical Remissions. And that just gives a story of what people do that survive radically. And a lot of it is having a plan that you take ownership of, believing in that plan, having hope, and having this determination that you're going to make it. That attitude is huge. So
That's wonderful.
So now that you have this, you had a great scan, you're, cancer free. Let's call it out, cancer free.
yeah.
What has changed going forward? Like, how has your life changed? What does your life look like now?
Well, after being in Colorado for my husband's project for 4 years, we moved back to Minnesota. And God just showed me the chapter here is closed. This is a very rural, peaceful place, great to raise kids. But I just grew up in Idaho and I love mountains, and I didn't realize how much I missed them. So life is short and I want to be back in those mountains. So we're moving back in a few weeks. We're packing up right now and heading back, sold our house and got a new one out there. So, I want to be where I am, and I also want to be where I'm used. I think I'm being able to be used more out there by God. Just a super active church that does a lot of service in the community. And so I was super involved with that. So I'm looking forward to getting back to that. And also, I'm sure there's going to be ways for me to share my story. I'm open to talking to people. So I'm not sure what that looks like yet. So I'm just waiting for God to show me how He'd like to use me and use this story. And this is one of those ways. So thank you for having me here today.
Absolutely. And I think a book would be great from you, Kristen, sharing all of this in detail. And wow, it's been an incredible story to hear today. And I really appreciate you being here to spread the joy that you have inside, and also from the story of what God's done through this as well. Wow. Incredible. We're going to have some of these references you made today, Chris Works, ChrisBeatCancer, in our show notes. I think the dogs are ready for us to be done.
And to bark.
Yeah, that's fine. It's all good. It's all good.
I've totally enjoyed getting to know you better, and you have such a light, and you're just upbeat. I love that.
Thank you.
Well, it is time for our Joy Spotlight. We are going to share a story of something that has brought us joy this week or recently. Kristen, do you want to kick us off?
Oh, sure. So, yeah, I just had an opportunity this week to see a lot of friends, a couple of dinners out with good friends. One friend, it's a couple, my husband and this guy, Mark, have been friends since 7th grade. So
Wow.
that's kind of cool. So we had dinner with friends, and I had lunch with a group of girlfriends from the gym. So yeah, just connecting with people and having time to visit brings me so much joy. Yeah.
That sounds joyful. Well, mine was actually, it was a bucket list item. I got to see manatees. It was at a manatee viewing center. And then we also went to a sea turtle rehabilitation center. And you guys, I don't know if you know this, Kristen, but I love nature. I love creation. And anything like this just really is something that I love to take in. So we went to this manatee viewing center and we got to see manatees and we got to see sharks. It's this long pier and this beautiful area where you can look out and look down and you can see all the creatures underwater. And it was very shallow and then it was very deep. All of a sudden we see these dark objects in the water coming our way from a distance. And it's like, oh, maybe that's them. And it was like, no, it was a group of sharks. So we're looking at the sharks too. And I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I'm up here because I don't like sharks at all. But yeah, and a stingray. And then also we saw a 7-foot tarpon, this huge fish in the water. So that was interesting. And then found out about the sea turtle rehab center a little ways down the road, went and looked at that. And I love sea turtles. So really had a joyful time. Me and my husband went and checked it out. And yeah, that was my joy spotlight for the week for sure.
Awesome.
And mine would be a little different. I took kind of a weekend off and I just kind of rested. I just needed a big break and I did laundry and I rested and took a nap. And then I took a couple walks at the park, which is my favorite thing. Even though it was chilly, it was just really good to get outside in the sun and fresh air and walk. So that was my weekend. That was my joy spot.
I love chill time. Are you kidding? That's the best. Time kind of stands still.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're going to close out with our Pour Out Your Joy. Kristen, do you want to start us off?
Yes, I will. Pour
out
your
joy.
Yeah.